well, let's return to the betting states. With most US states still don't allow online casino gambling, but a category called Sweepstakes casinos has become bigger than legal iGaming. So what's happening there? Tom Waterhouse joining us from Waterhouse VC. Tom, good to see you again.
Thanks, Andrew. Good to see you too.
Just before we get onto that, can I ask you about what we're seeing with that Pointsbet deal?
Yeah, look, that looks pretty interesting actually. Mixi, obviously a very big group in Japan, got investments in the gambling space. They like Pointsbet, I'm sure, because it gives them a big footprint in the Australian market, but also gives them a technology platform. And I think Sam Swanell and the team at Pointsbet have done a great job. They've got two horses in the race. Betr are very aggressively trying to buy the business. They've got a 19.9% stake and made a significant offer. And now you've got Mixi coming over the top. So I think both offers are great. Obviously, you've got Matt Tripp, who knows how to run these businesses, can get the synergies out of the two businesses. And you've got Mixi that are paying cash and paying now a premium, and it's a cash offer. So I can see why the shareholders want that. But I think either outcome will be a great result for shareholders, and it's a credit to Sam and the team.
You mentioned the importance of having a tech platform. Why is that important?
Look, it's important because obviously you can use third-party tech. So a lot of the large operators like a Tabcorp or a Flutter, William Hill, they use OpenBet, which is a large tech platform that serviced a lot of the large providers for a long time. But you really have control of your own destiny if you own the betting engine and you own the full tech stack. So Pointsbet have done that. They have the full tech stack. They've obviously got business in Australia and Canada. You can go down either path. Like obviously there have been some very successful companies that have had third-party tech, but I think it's a real selling point. And Pointsbet have got a few other assets that are very interesting. They've got an in-play data provider that's very interesting, and they've obviously got an existing team that can execute not only in Australia but have executed well in the US and Canada. So I think Mixi buys quite a few different things. And Matt Tripp, well, he knows how to be successful in the Australian market, and what he's buying is scale. And so I think either outcome makes strategic sense for both parties, and I think both outcomes are great for shareholders. And it's just a great position when you're selling a business. You've got two eager parties willing to pay up and buy the asset. So I think it's going to be a good time over the next month or two while the shareholders decide.
Tom, do you have any insights into Betmakers, looking, as I mentioned there, to acquire that Las Vegas horse racing wagering?
Look, I don't know the Vegas business well. Obviously, I know Betmakers well. Matt Davey, who's a very switched-on industry veteran, been very successful in the space. He's the major shareholder of Betmakers and the chairman. He lives in Vegas, so I'm sure he's all over the asset. It would make strategic sense. I think they're doing a capital raising at the same time. He's putting money in to that capital raising. So he obviously knows that asset well. I don't know that Vegas asset well. The first I heard about it was today's or yesterday's announcement. So, but Betmakers, look, they're trading at about 1x revenue. So they've got, if they do things right and they become cash flow positive and start generating profits, which the last quarter results are quite positive. They're obviously, that's a team that knows how to execute. Their CEO, Jake Henson's very switched on also, and Matt Davey, he knows what he's doing.
Well, speaking of Las Vegas, it is arguably the casino capital of the world. But in the States, as you pointed out before, online casino gambling is not legal, although in some states
Yeah, so in
it
about
is.
8 states it is legal, but
Right.
the majority have not legalised. The majority now have a legalised sports betting, but it's one of these questions, and it's hard to answer for regulators all around the world. Do you open up everything up and allow regulated operators to operate and tax them? Because people want to bet not only on sports, but they want to bet on casino games.
Well, and because the digital space doesn't have borders, does it? That's the problem.
That's right. And also people that have, in land-based casinos that have done it for years or since they've ever started gambling, they now go, well, actually, I'd like to do everything on my phone. And so the way that they've got around it in most places that haven't legalised is going to illegal offshore operators. You see large leakage in places, well, Australia's a good example, there's large offshore leakage. But in the US, where the operators have got around it is they offer these sweepstakes. So you buy these virtual gold tokens and you can bet on live dealer or slots or any type of casino game, but you're betting in virtual currency. And then with that virtual currency, you get a small amount of real currency that you can cash out, or you can cash out for real prizes. But you can play the games without having to give up money. You can buy gold tokens to play more, but it gets around the legislation there. You've seen a change in legislation in a couple of states just recently that are banning it outright, but the majority of states have legalised it, and it's a big income earner for these operators. And but things will change, and the landscape's always evolving and changing, and you find a loophole or you find a way to offer these products, it either legalises or gets closed up. And the US is going through that process at the moment.
And Tom, let's return to the local scene then. And Tabcorp, Chief Executive Gillon McLachlan there,
Yep.
he's brought in to turn around the company.
Yep.
Is he achieving that? Because I see that he's come up with Tab Time. What's that?
Look, he had a really tough job. You know, Tab's had some real headwinds against it, and I think he's, being in the role for the amount of time he's been in, he's done a great job in what's a very difficult situation. You know, so he's stripped out cost, he's streamlined, he's really focused rather than going and trying to go head to head with a global superpower in Flutter that owns Sportsbet or Ladbrokes, which is owned by Entain. He's gone, well, what are the assets that are differentiated and different? And let's focus on our land-based assets. And he's focused about trying to get people back into those to those venues, and at the same time cost cutting, taking out a lot of the fat in that business. So it's a tough job. You know, like the tailwind is behind online digital growth, not behind land-based operations. But he's got a few things that are really exciting. Obviously, they've got this in-play product, which is quite interesting, that you might be able to bet in during a game in venue, which I think is quite interesting, and obviously incentives to be in the venue at a certain time. And I think if these come off, if there's a reason to be in a venue and you get a better offering, that gives a big point of differentiation for Tab. But yeah, it's a tough journey, but I think Gil, I can't think of anyone that could have turned around as well as he has done. But does that make it in 5 years a big success? It's a tough challenge.